When the fighting became difficult and the foreign powers demanded that Sishe turned over the financial and military forces of China, she knew the death of China was coming, but said they would fight to the death, referencing the powers got away too easily during 1860 in the Opium War. This led to the attack on foreigners in Beijing that lasted until the Eight-Nation Alliance sent in 20,000 troops and captured Beijing. Sishe and the imperial court that lived here escaped into the mountains where they weren't at risk for being killed by foreigners during the attack, which showed the Chinese people they were smart, and many people believed they ultimately outsmarted the Allies. At this point, they burned down the rest of the summer palace because of Sishe's involvement and support of the Boxers. The Boxer Protocol of 1901 forced Sishe and the government to sign, which ended the rebellion and called for severe punishment and a payment of £67 million.
She said she was shooting and that's a movie, and you were in there. Movie star.
Yay! The summer palace was rebuilt once in 1880 after the Opium War, and Sishe moved her administration to the new summer palace in 1889 from the Forbidden City. After the Boxer Rebellion of 1900, they began working on the summer palace in 1949, which is built near the old location. The Empress Dowager, who abhorred all challenges to her position, moved her administration to the new summer palace in 1889. The kitchens comprised 8 courtyards, and there were 128 cooks employed in her palace. And all 290 acres of the summer palace were for her exclusive use, so you begin to see how the new summer palace came to symbolize the decadence of a dynasty. And right now we're standing next to the East Palace Gate, and it's the main gate into the summer palace. It's guarded on the outside by 2 brass lions from the Qianlong period. The symbol of the imperial powers resides on the staircase leading up to the gate, which is an image of 2 dragons with pearls. Over the gate is an image written by Guangxu during his reign as an emperor, which says, Yi He Yuan, with meaning to maintain energy and mellow your soul. Inside the gate is a spirit wall. When Empress Dowager Sishe lived here, she was the only one allowed to come here, and she banned all other mortals from the area. Showing how important Chinese royal hierarchy was, the gate is separated into 2 different parts. The 3 main doors in the middle were for the Emperor, Empress, and Queen Mother, and the court officials and other royals entered from the 2 side entrances.
Any questions here?
So what movie were you in?
Apparently the one we're making right now.
If you show up on Chinese television, you'll know.
Yeah, I guess.
Any questions here? Who was this Empress Dowager? Sishe.
Sishe?
Yeah. Who was she?
What do you mean?
Well, just we've been using her name a lot today, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So just so everyone has a stronger idea of who is she?
She was the empress who ruled here, and she took over power when her son.
Yeah, she had a son by the emperor.
Yeah. Come over here.
She had a son by the emperor, and he sort of died mysteriously, I guess, around 18 or 19. And I think some people speculate that she had a hand in his death, perhaps. Right. And then she had a nephew that replaced him, and
he was only 5 when he took over power, so she ruled sort of like behind the scenes for him, and ultimately she took over.
Yeah, when did she rule? About what years are we talking about here?
I guess 17th century.
Yeah.
Is that not quite, right? Because she's involved in the battles with the French and British in the Boxer Rebellion. So,
yeah.
So 1900s.
Yeah. So what are the dates exactly? I forget as well.
1880 something.
I thought 1875-ish to 1900.
1906.
1906. So she died in 1906, right?
The day before the Guangxi Emperor, she openly claimed, "I cannot die before him." Oh, sorry, I made her. I cannot die before him. So it was suspected that she poisoned the emperor to death. Then the next night, she died herself.
She died.
So she killed her. So
it's a long-term poison. Not her son, but her, I would say, great nephew.
Okay, but.
All right, we're standing in front of the Wenqing Gallery and the Wenqing Tower. The gallery is a structure that consists of 6 halls. It contains thousands of artifacts spanning 3,600 years, which is prior to the fall of the Qing Dynasty in 1911. It's the largest gallery in any classical Chinese garden. It showcases the best work throughout the time, relics of bronze, jewelry, chinaware, furniture, clocks, gold, silver, ivory, and all of that is on display for viewing here. Some are valuable antiques and represent important events in Chinese history.
The Wenqing Tower is right behind us, and it is also referred to as the Tower of Literary Prosperity. Built in 1609 and renovated repeatedly, it is double-decked and has 3 stories instead of the original 4 it contained before the burning in 1860 during the Opium War, and is 20 meters tall. It's a beautiful example of Ming Dynasty construction, decorated with delicate carvings, drawings, and paintings in a traditional gray style. There is a statue of Wenqing Dijon in the tower, who is the god of culture and literature. He is placed in the tower as a way to be worshipped. The tower deals in the number 9, which we've talked about multiple times in this trip, which suggests supreme power. It has 9 ridges, 9 points on the eaves, 9 pillars, or 54 pillars and 81 beams, which are both multiples of 9 as well. 9. There's an interesting legend that goes along with the bridge, and one day during the construction of the bridge, an old man in shabby clothing came to the busy building site and shouted, "Who wants Longmen stone?" He got no reply, as the others took him as a crazy man on seeing his poor appearance. The man left with the stone in great disappointment. He stayed under a big tree, and every day he chiseled the stone as early as when the rooster started to crow. One night it rained heavily, and the poor man had to shelter from the rain under a tree when another elderly man saw him and asked him to live at his home. After a year went by, the old man said goodbye to the kind master and left the stone to him as a reward. At the same time, the project of the 17-arch bridge was almost finished, except for a proper stone to fit the gap at the middle of the bridge. Someone advised the project director to find the man who once sold Longmen stone. The director found out where the man lived, and out of extreme happiness found the right stone and gave the man some money to move it away. To everyone's excitement, the stone is exactly the right size to fit the gap. And everyone realized the old man must have been the incarnation of the earliest ancestor of the carpenter who came to help us build the bridge. And there are 30 bridges total at the Summer Palace, but this is the one and only entrance to Nanhu Island, except for by water. And then the island is also known as South Lake Island and was created when Emperor Qianlong wanted to save the temples and buildings on the island, but decided to excavate the land around it to expand Kunming Lake. The island, along with the other 2 on the lake, I think further back, make up 3 fairy islands, and it is believed, and Chinese people believe, that there are fairy islands in the ocean that are similar to paradise. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, the walkway we just came through is a long corridor. It spans 728 meters and has 273 sections. It's connecting the Inviting Moon Gate in the east and the Shizeng Pavilion in the west. Some people consider it perhaps the most impressive example of Chinese garden architecture. It was built in 1750 to shelter...
Attention.
It was built in 1750 by Emperor Qianlong to shelter his mother as she walked through the park. The corridor displays more than 8,000 paintings, which depict novels, folk tales, scenery, and wildlife. There are 4 separate pavilions along the corridor, and they're known as mesmerizing scenery, harmonizing with the lake, autumn water, and clear and carefree, representing all 4 seasons. The detailed decorative paintings are essential to ancient Chinese architecture. You see a lot of that this week, and not only do they have like aesthetic value, they also have functional value as they protect the building materials that are underneath the painting. The hall that dispels clouds is in the center of the long corridor and travels the waterbank, as this whole thing links all the structures that are at the base of Longevity Hill, which is behind us here. And in the 1990s, it was named the longest corridor in the world.
Right behind us is the hall that dispels clouds, and the name means in such a splendid hall, supernatural beings will emerge, meaning that occupants of this hall would be blessed. The hall was originally built for Qinglong's mother's 60th birthday, and the hall was burned down in the Opium War of 1860 and then rebuilt with the rest of the summer palace. The hall is surrounded by courtyards and is located in the second part with a stone-arched bridge over a pool in the first courtyard. The entrance to the hall is lined with pairs of dragons, phoenixes, and three-footed vessels, and there are also bronze lions outside meant to symbolize protection. The hall is also lined with yellow tiles, which was unusual because Emperor Qinlong had originally regulated yellow tiles to only be used in temples. She celebrated her birthdays here, and the hall now displays many of her birthday presents from court officials and princes over the years. But she didn't stay in the hall for very long because she blamed its closeness to the Tower of Buddhist Incense for her becoming ill. This temple is a structure made for worshiping Buddha, and on the 1st and 15th of each lunar month, Sishe would go there to pray and burn incense. The structure is a 3-section tower with an octagonal design. It was originally going to be 9 stories high, but when they were constructing it, the idea was changed at the 8th story to keep it small for prayer and worshiping Buddha. There are 8 ironwood pillars to support the tower, and there's a life-size statue of Buddha on the first floor of the temple.
It stands 36.44 meters tall, and it's on a 20-meter high fountain. It's the 1,000-handed statue of the Kishwan Buddha in bronze and gold. And it's, this whole building, I'm sorry, is 36.44. The Buddha is actually 5 meters tall and weighs 5 tons. It was cast during the Ming Dynasty. And the story originates in Buddhism from the Kishwan Buddha, which symbolizes mercy and love. The name actually means observing the sounds or cries of the human world. And the betrayal of the Buddha with 1,000 arms originates from a story in which Buddha attempted to save many beings in need, but was struggling to hear their cries, and her head split into 11 pieces. So the Amitabha Buddha came to her rescue, giving her 11 heads to hear all of the cries. But then when she tried to reach out to help all the people in need, she only had 2 arms and they shattered. So the Amitabha Buddha then gave her 1,000 hands to reach all in need.